Awesome.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, I'm Quinne Huffman.
And I'm Tonya Meeks.
Yes, and
And
this is the Motherhood channel.
we are so excited to be here. We have been, well, you start. You want to tell? We were just talking about how we met.
Yeah, we're so
Yeah.
excited. We finally decided just to start this channel, the Motherhood channel, because we linked up. Gosh, now it's
Over
like
7 years. Yeah.
10 years or something. I don't know. Yeah, how old is Sparrow? You were pregnant with Sparrow when we
So
met.
6, so 7 years, 7, 8 years. Yeah. 7 years.
Yeah, amazing. And we
Yeah.
have crossed the, the earth, continents.
Hmm.
We have spent first cities apart and then continents. And we met when you were pregnant with Sparrow. You reached out to me, but
Yeah.
you heard about me through Sherry. So
Yes.
through
I
the
was
creative
taking,
arts.
yeah. Yeah. So I was taking Sherry's class, kind of, I always call her like a spiritual acting coach.
Mm.
And everyone in the class was like, "Oh, you're pregnant. You have to work with Quinne, like you and Quinne, la la la." So I reached out, and that's what, for you to be kind of my doula for the birth of Sparrow. And then you were going back to South Africa, and you weren't sure, the timing was like right on the edge of his birth. When did you actually end up leaving him? I was
So
thinking,
I left the June of 2016.
okay, so he was born May 31st. So
That's right. It was
yeah,
right on that. And you were in LA and I was in San Diego at the time.
yeah. So we were like, is this gonna work? And
Yeah, it
yeah,
was amazing.
so it's
I
fascinating. Yeah.
I was with Sherry's class in San Francisco, so that's how she knew about
Interesting.
me. Um, and you and I both have this love for the arts, love for storytelling. That's really where we find our greatest joy,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say.
Yeah, totally. And we reconnect. Yeah, yeah. We reconnected because I was building out kind of this program called an artist accelerator, just like everyone's creative, everyone's meant to be creating. And I was doing interviews and I reached out to you and you were coming back from
From
South
South
Africa
Africa.
to L to LA, to find a
LA.
place in LA, but then you were in San Diego a couple times because your mother-in-law is out here. So anyways, we reconnected. And when we reconnected, I was like, oh my God, we are on this path of like wanting to be storytellers. Like we are storytellers, but holding the
Mhm.
space of motherhood and then desperately like spitting, desperately wanting to be on stage. There's spit coming out of my mouth. But of being these storytellers that are more of this like kind of cracking our hearts open and exposing what's going on, like these true stories, not like, "Hi, I've crafted a da 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 da."
Mhm. Exactly. I think, motherhood cracked both you and I open to get really real with life and why are we telling it brought the why in storytelling forward for me personally.
Interesting. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I felt really grounded and awakened in my craft as a poet, a writer, an actress, performer once I became a mother. And I think I felt that I really landed when Charlotte was born. She came through me. I
Yeah,
finally landed on this planet. I was stopped being on this peripheral,
it's
and
interesting.
it definitely translates into my work. And now working as a doula and a birth coach, and you're in the same field, not the same, but you were in psychotherapy.
Yeah, I'm a therapist. Yeah, so we
Yeah,
both have these like healer archetypes,
right.
the
And so the
motherhood, and then
insight and perspective
yeah,
broadens, bringing in everyone else's experience also,
hmm,
and not wanting to give up on our what is it, sense of being, sense of our dreams of sharing our stories, putting our work out there, but bringing the whole family along with us, having
yeah, yeah. So not
it's a
having it
lot.
separated. So I think that was the key that we both like kept landing on. Like we, because some people do as mothers like create their art, but then it's like it feels like they're making a choice between career or art and then motherhood. It's not an integrated piece where everybody's involved or they're a witness to that too. Makes me think of like, have you done authentic movement where you have you move with your eyes closed and you have the witness and you do it in like a circle?
Yeah, I have done things something similar to that.
Yeah, yeah. So there's
That
something
was
so powerful in being witnessed. And I think there's something in being a mother and then having our children witness us standing in our art, which is our truth.
oh, I just felt my whole heart open when
Yeah,
you
because that's
explain it that way, because it is that. There's
yeah,
nothing like it when they look at you and you see them see you for
yeah.
something
Gonna
other
make me
than
cry.
their
Yeah,
caretaker
yeah, yeah.
or their provider. They see you as a person
Yeah.
that has brought, I mean, it is a feeling, it is a rush. I love it.
Yeah, because I
Love it.
started doing um like Sparrow desperately. It's funny because I was doing some writing last night and I lead a writing group and we each share writing. Anyways, and there was a piece about like, oh yeah, my mother's stories, even though they were like adult stories that she was sharing, were my favorite memories of my mom. And Sparrow
Yeah.
too wants to hear these stories. He's like, tell me more. I want to hear da da da. Tell this story da 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 da. And that is our kind of biggest connection. And he'll hear like he wants, and he thinks it's so funny. And then and I'm like, I actually am pretty funny. I was really funny one time. Like people thought I was really funny. Like just so you know, don't think I bring out the funny anymore, but I'm really funny. And he's like, I'm really funny. But you can see he's kind of like, who knew you're funny? Like, who knew? So funny that you're funny. Tell
I know
another.
they keep us so humble. They keep us, my mom always said, your kids will keep you on your knees. They'll keep you humble, and courageous. It's amazing. Yeah. My youngest is Lara. She's 8 and she loves stories. She's like, Mom, tell me a story about your life when you were in this age and this happened. And I have like, oh, go back in memory lane or find the stories, but they both coming out as little storytellers. They just love it. I think it's our universal language as humans. It
Mhm.
is what accelerates our humility and our evolution as humans,
Yeah.
as societies.
Mhm.
I mean, so I'm a huge believer. I love it. I love our connection and what we are putting into the ether for you all to enjoy. The Motherhood channel is where we will bring stories
Mhm.
and experiences and how we've expanded. And who knows, leaving the channel open for whatever wants to come through ultimately, right?
Kind of funny. I didn't think about as like the channel could be like a television channel, a YouTube channel, but it could be like you're channeling because I feel like art is you're channeling God, like you are a channel for like higher messaging, whatever it could be the ocean coming through. It doesn't matter what's coming through. So I feel like the Motherhood channel is like bringing in people to be able to channel that expansive idea of motherhood. Because I feel like motherhood we were talking about this. We were like, I was like, I feel like I don't know, there's funny things about like the yoga mom or this mom, or then there's the only movies we see about moms really are like the bad mom. Like, okay, so it's funny when we show moms like acting out and not being, but then that's not really the truth of motherhood.
Exactly. Yeah. Just all the different ways that we get to show up without needing to compartmentalize it and say, there's this way, there's all these one ways of being. And if you're not that way, you must be this way instead of going,
And if you don't fit in any of the motherhood boxes of like check, 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 then where do
and
you,
maybe depending on my moon cycle, I'm a different mother every week of the month.
yeah,
And
yeah,
my children have to adjust
all the different
accordingly,
motherhood
all the different
personalities.
ways
Yeah.
I can show up as a mother, because for me, the biggest challenge and something that I want to have for my experience as a mother for my children is to be authentic, to
Mhm.
show them that it's not a linear human, we're not linear as humans,
Yeah, yeah.
that we are affected by seasons, by where we land, how we eat, how we sleep, how we think. I mean, we're affected by so much. And even though we can choose, I guess, how we respond or react to a certain extent, to
Mhm.
not think we're not affected, that we are, our authenticity shows up in so many different ways.
Totally.
And I hope that by showing up that way, I give them permission to show up in all these different ways and be accepted, like self-acceptance, self-love in that way from an early age. I love it. Charlotte will stand in front of the mirror and she will go, "Oh, I'm so pretty."
Oh, I love that.
with with this huge appreciation. Not
Like a
I
like
am,
a
oh my
gentle.
God, I'm so pretty, I'm the best. No, just this deep appreciation for her own beauty.
Mhm.
And she can look at it herself and see it. Oh, I love it.
Oh, I love that. But
I
that's how
know.
you like held the space for that. That isn't just a natural, I mean, it is an innate thing for children, but I feel like many times, like the parental system, like breaks down that natural
Yeah.
um thing of kid. Like we were just talking, our kids all have different person. I mean, I have one child, your kid, everybody, we all have different personalities that we bring to the table, and our kiddos have that same thing. They
I do. I
have
think
their
that's a
own
great
self-insert.
transition into like why it matters that we show up as our own personalities, as people, not just as a mother or a father or an employee or an employer, but as people show up in the space with
Yeah.
presence, um, so that our kids can maintain their own personality, their own personhood, who
Mhm.
they are. Um, why did I say that? It felt like such a natural transition. Now I don't know why,
Of
but
like, I think you were trying to say of like what you're wanting to embody. Like as a storyteller, I thought you were going to go down the road
yeah,
what you want
exactly.
to embody as a storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah, keep me on track.
No, it's okay. I thought, I mean, that's what I made up where we were going. I was like, I don't know. I think we're going to go down that road. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, what do
Yeah.
we embody and why? Why is this important? And, showing up in this channel in all these different ways is saying there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. Is like showing up in story and in fun and play and channeling whatever wants to come through is to show, hey, be the mother that you are in whatever capacity that is,
Oh,
without all this judgment,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
Hold on, my son is, Sparrow's like, hold on,
Hold on.
broadcast, pause the broadcast. Our little kitty is finally like, we adopted it. We were just talking about a new little kitty, and the kitty loves Sparrow, but then sometimes Sparrow is kind of the Wild West. The kitty's like, I'm not sure about you, buddy. Gonna. And so the kitty is laying next to him, cuddled in right now, which is really sweet. So,
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like a little dance they're doing. It's like two little beings. I'm like, he loves you, you love him. You guys are trying to figure each other
he's
out.
his little sibling. It's his
Yeah,
animal sibling.
it
Oh
really is.
man,
Because he
what
does.
a gift. Yeah.
Yeah,
The gift of animals are real.
for
I
sure.
mean, we've gone through so much, the grieving and then the finding and the grieving and the finding, because with all these transitions we've done,
Oh, yeah, with the pets being
we've lost pets now. And I mean, it's a short life. She's 8 and she's had to say she's lost quite a few pets now.
oh,
And not one because she left, one cat, Patience, she left, and we had to just make our peace with that. And then we moved and we acquired a cat and 2 dogs, and we had to find them all homes. And ooh, I tell you what, grief.
grief
We
is
made a
real.
lot of tear soup, and but now we have the 2 cats, and the gift of animals and what it brings them, it's so soothing.
Mhm.
Even when they have something to discipline, but navigate at least. And
Yeah, yeah.
with Sparrow being only child, it's like his little animal sibling. It's so sweet.
Yeah, he's having to navigate. That's what I said. I was like, the kitty is gonna get on your marble tower and gonna disrupt the situation. Like it really is. He's gonna want to play with the things you want to play with. Like he is. He's gonna think it's a toy. Like your toys look like his toys. So it's been interesting to navigate because he desperately wants like another little person. It's interesting, you know?
That be
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And he voices that.
Just recently, because I was really open. I had him with the sperm donor. So I've been very open about that
Yeah.
from a very young age. but I feel like I was just saying like, we're not going to do that. That door is closed because I'm like, I am parentifying. But I was like sharing, like I have a, it's like a whole long story. I'm trying to think how to succinctly say this. Because I had him with the sperm donor, I have another vial from that sperm donor on hold at a sperm bank. So I have to like say, I'm going to keep holding that, or you say good, you just let it go, because at some point there's no reason to hold it anymore out of like nostalgia, because it's like, if I'm not going to pull I'm not going to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting thing. He's like, really? Just come on, we could like, but it was fascinating because I didn't expect him to say, like, I was just making a simple phone call, like, hi, Brian, like, we're gonna, let that go at the sperm bank. And he was like, no, I wanna. So it was an interesting thing. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, I would love to have and I was like, really? Because in some ways, even with the cat, it's difficult. So I was like, that would be a really like huge transition for his attachment and all of it. Anyways, it was just a really interesting thing to talk about and just be like, really, you would like? And he was like, well, yeah, I would want. Yeah, so it's just been an interesting, we're not going to do it, but we've had to talk about like the fact that that's not going to happen has been an interesting conversation that I would have, if I had to guess, would have been like, he's cool 1,000% with being like the one kid, my one kiddo. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Like, it was surprising. So
That is surprising. Oh wow, what a rad conversation. That's to have with him.
yeah,
Get his
yeah.
perspective on that. That's so wild.
I know it is wild to be like, well, I was like, it just doesn't make, it just, for a lot of reasons, like it doesn't feel right intuitively to me, but
No, and it's one thing that you can trust is your intuition. I mean, you have such a strong sense of it. It's
yeah, yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
What
It's quite
message,
shouty.
huh?
It's shouty. Your
Yeah,
intuition is so strong. If you deny it, it's like, why did you deny me?
I know. It's like, we're gonna rock you up now. We're gonna rock and roll the whole situation. What what do you feel like? Because there's something that you said to me numerous times about motherhood being like a grieving cycle of like becoming a new person. Like I feel like you have a little, do you know what I'm talking about? A thing that,
Mm.
not a
Yeah, like,
word,
and
but
now they've come up with this, or maybe I finally learned the word for what I was talking about, but matrescence, which is that space where it's like adolescence. Your hormones, everything has shifted, but really stepping into motherhood and honoring it as absolutely life-changing.
Mhm.
I remember when I became a mother, how that was something that I was in denial over. And I think that's why I ended up really working with women in postpartum,
Mm,
understanding their grief and how subtle it is, but how significant it can be. It's not subtle for everybody, but it can be. And so a lot of women go into denial and just carry on.
yeah.
Like, let's just pretend we can carry on with this little person either attached to me or in a stroller in front of me. Here we go, rock and roll. And meanwhile, all the pieces start falling off and it starts falling apart a little bit. And the grief reveals itself. It's
Mhm,
intense if we deny it, because the change is real, the transformation is undeniable,
mhm.
physically, emotionally, mentally,
Yeah, yeah.
scientifically, spiritually, on all levels. I just, yeah, with Charlotte, it was a hit over the head. Um,
What's the biggest piece that came out, or the biggest, I don't know,
it's the
thread
it's
that
the
shifted?
loss of it's for me, the biggest piece was, oh, I don't have the freedom that I was accustomed to having.
Mm, mhm,
Freedom of movement, the cons you know complete consideration for myself is now, it's not so complete because she is now my full responsibility.
mhm,
I have taken on this responsibility, and in my grieving I had to reframe
mhm,
my understanding of responsibility to saying, oh, I've had to learn a different way of responding. My ability to respond had to shift.
Hold on just a sec. Let's pause the broadcast for a second. Speaking of the kitty is doing something. Hold on, I'm gonna pause the recording. I'm so sorry. It's like the live motherhood channel. The live motherhood channel. Interruptions by the Sparrow infomercial and the kitty. Sorry. So yeah,
no, that's our conversations as mothers.
Yeah.
Is knowing how to cut in the middle of a sentence and wait 5 minutes and then pick it up right where you ended it.
Yeah.
Is one of the things that we have to learn how to do. And it's tough when you have a conversation with someone who does not have a child.
Totally.
And they don't know to pause. Give you the pause so that I can go take care of something. And they just keep talking and you're like,
no, and they'll be telling you like they're like, oh, and then they tried to like something really traumatic. You're like, dude, do you hear the like chaos in the background? I want to hear, and they'll just go da, 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 da. You're like, hello,
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
If my child calls, I cannot hear the rest of the world. Well, that's what I was talking about, is the sense of responsibility that was so overwhelming.
Redefining what it means is what you were saying.
Redefine it. Yeah. Redefine to my ability to respond and all the tools that I needed to find in order to not go into complete reactive space, because when we're grieving and we're processing and we're changing, it's so easy to just become reactive. And I found myself becoming super reactive. I was isolated. It wasn't pretty. I have a few tools in my kit that I could hone in on, which helped a lot. And then just have all the right people come in to my space and allowing it in. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about my work now, is because of knowing where it can take you. The depths of that is not pretty. And our kids should not suffer the consequences of our own denial, of our own trauma. If we engage our trauma or our own processing appropriately, then we don't have to perpetuate it in the way that we do. The world perpetuates.
Yeah, because then it's a whole cycle of the multi-generational transmission of trauma, even though you're trying to do it different, no matter how conscious the mama is. You know what I mean? You're a conscious, like, soul, worked on your soul, like, in a deep way. It still pushes up against things, like unearths, like if you were going to look at it, like 12th house, like Pluto, like deep things, deep parts that you didn't even know could be unearthed in motherhood. I feel like you're going to be a new mom, this would scare the living shit out. You'd be like, no, you're like, have a baby. It breaks your heart open. We're like, it unearths the deepest, darkest parts of your soul. But it does. And no one talks about that. So yes, it is like, I feel like it was the biggest love I had ever experienced. And yet there were these pieces that came up where I was like, I am a different human being. How am I a different human being? I woke up one day and I'm now different. I interact with the world differently. My friends who I choose to interact with is suddenly different. And people are like, who are you? Like, what? You had a baby. That's cool. But you love him. But like, why are you so different? You know, like people were really blown out of the water. And I think that it's true. Friends that didn't have kids or couldn't understand, because I was so accessible before, where I was unaccessible. Like I could not lock in with them in the same way, because it wasn't that I intended on him to trump it. It was just like, there's a crisis back here. Like I have to navigate this. And I had never had anything trump other people. Like other people kind of held a lot of space.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It was always easy to make many other people's livelihood more important. And suddenly she's still another person, but she for the first 3 years, the attachment of ours, it's such a hard thing to explain. But the way you said how it unearths and it brings up, I mean, and it doesn't stop really. Every age I have found, brings a moment of a cloud cover comes over where we're almost that when we were that age, like for me, the 3-year-old, when my kids were 3, it's like my 3-year-old were super activated. And
Mm,
I had to really go back into my own inner child work and look at what happened to me when I was 3. Who am I back then?
yeah, the
Because I
parallel.
am, everything about them triggers me. This is not pretty.
No,
This is
that's
not
interesting.
fun for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and in every age brings up things, and we have to, in order to maintain the relationship as a, because we're their power source.
Hmm.
And if we are unplugged from our own power source, then we have nothing. That's where the trauma comes in. That's when
Yeah,
parents start feeling traumatized and they take it out on their kids, and you see abuse, and you see even quiet abuse where it's not even that visible,
yeah, yeah.
when we unplug. And so learning to stay plugged in myself in order to be a clean source of power for them, that
Totally.
was an interesting thing to learn
That's a
to
good
do.
an amazing description, like clean source of energy.
Yeah.
But you know
So,
what I mean? There's like, and there is a difference. Like if you're, it's like, yeah, we all hear the analogy of like, you have to put your oxygen mask on the plane first. But to implement that in like real time is totally different. Um, a total, because you have to figure out what missing pieces are happening for you, not what missing pieces are happening in theory. Oh, I should be able to
mm,
meditate and it's going to clear everything. It may, but that may not be the missing thing that your soul is like, I need this. I'm depleted, you know?
yeah. And that's the key. It looks different for everybody. And that's what I love. I think this channel that you and I are opening in this moment is about acknowledging the vastness of this, that it's not, if you meditate, you'll be fine. If you move every day, you'll be fine. If you eat this way, if you think that, it's not.
Or if you're conscious parenting, or if you're doing this, or
Yeah.
if you're doing that, or if you go do yoga, or because the thing, because then there's this chasing of like, oh, I'm going to do it right. Like I did this and I did this and I did this. And then I'm still not okay. I still feel like the pieces aren't, because I know in all my writing, really, I'm like, oh, there's these pieces I'm trying to put together. There's pieces of a puzzle, because I feel like becoming a mom has like taken the pieces and like rerouted them. So I'm constantly
Mm,
like, oh, let me figure out the pieces right now. Let me figure out the new pieces. But the
yeah.
minute I figure out the pieces, then there's so much shift. There's another little human shifting. And then I'm like, oh, the pieces just went flying. You know, like it's magnetized. The pieces, I'm like, whoa, I figured out a system. Whoa, actually, the pieces
Right.
just blew up again, you know, and not a bad way. But then there's this constant dance of being open. And so I'm excited for this because I feel like no one, like, I'm like, who's talking about this? Like, it's not,
Yeah, and it's people are overall super afraid of moving away from the concept that there's a right way.
mhm,
And all I keep hearing that comes through for me, and what I'm trying to find the words and the expression and the story for, to really explain that there is no right way.
yeah.
There's your way that's kind, or that, for me, there's the basic laws of the universe means everyone wins.
Yeah, yeah.
No one gets hurt and no one gets broken, and that the life death cycle is not wrong, and it's not something to be afraid of. So those two things for me eliminates the idea of a right and a wrong,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I
because
think everybody's trying to figure out, are I doing it right? Oh, I'm doing it right. I should feel okay, whatever right is. But then
if
that's
I
where
do it right, I should be okay. But if I'm not okay and I'm doing it right, now what?
what's wrong. But I feel like then that's the disconnect between mothers that are connecting with other moms. They're like, well, I'm doing it this way. If you do it my way, then you'll be okay. But then when you don't want to do, because what works for you and your thing may work over here and it may not. Or there may be 5 pieces of that work for me. And then, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
but
have
in a different sequence, and in a, I have to do my, whatever exercise or ritual or ideas I want to practice. It will be in a different order. It will be in a different setup.
Yeah.
Context is different.
Yeah.
So I think what we're speaking about is bringing grace back into this hood of mothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really allowing, opening
Yeah.
the channel. See how I
I
used
love
all
it.
the pieces
I love
there?
it. I love it. I was like, no, it's great though, because that's your creativity though, is taking all those words and linking them up.
Mm.
Seriously. You were like, grace of the motherhood of the channel. Like it's all, and it's like your spoken word poet. Like seriously, you can feel it in there because that's your voice. That's like, hello, I'm right here. I'm still, you know, in there. You know what I mean? You're like the grace, the motherhood, the channel, the hood. It was like a whole thing and it's beautiful. Right?
Oh, yeah, that was
Seriously.
fun.
Yeah, I
I
was like, I
love
love
those
that.
moments where you're like, oh, that was fun.
You're like, oh, that's alive because there's like all those parts that get to be like turned on
Mm.
and like activated get to used in such a spiritual, but they get turned on, activated, flipped, whatever. You know, they are activated.
Exactly.
Activated.
Yeah.
Word.
No, it is. It is an activated space.
Mhm.
Oh no, I love it. So I think yeah, let's play in this space.
Okay.
Let's call
Yeah.
in the stories, and I think who all of you listening or watching, just look forward to an expansive experience where we are diving deep and dancing also in the stars,
Yeah.
and not really getting bogged down by too many specifics, because this is vast and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. And it could look anyway. You don't have to be like, I'm not. What happened back there, Sparrow? Hold on. What's going on? Anyways, so just bring in whatever you connect with. It could be like, I'm a mother. It doesn't have to look, you don't have to fit any certain paradigm. It's just, are you a mother? Or is your heart cracked open being a mom and you're trying to put all the pieces together? And who are you in that? And that's like the fascinating, and everybody has a story to tell in that. Every single mother has a story to tell, and they're
Yeah,
all going to look dramatically different. Oh, that kitty is, come on.
I know. This is
Oh,
Prince, and he is
Prince.
just a love bug. So
Oh,
yeah, look
okay.
forward to it, and we
Yeah.
will keep posting and keep sharing and move forward with this.
And we look
I'm
forward to,
Quinne Brown Huffman,
and this is Tonya Meeks, and this is the Motherhood channel.
the
Channel
mother.
the hood and the motherhood and the grace. Say it again. Okay. Like, anyways, big love.
Big love,
Big
big love, just love.
love.